I sometimes will hear people saying very imprecise things like, well, this part of your premium goes to death benefit, and this part of your premium goes to cash value. And if you pay to that stupid little base premium, it's going to death benefit. But if you pay to that wonderful paid up additions rider, it's going to cash value. No, every single dollar you pay in purchases death benefit. Period. Period. What is paid up additions? Paid up additional life insurance. In other words, additional death benefit. The only way to get more cash value is to get more death benefit. Now, yes, there's a way in which we design it so that the cash value is accelerated. Sure.
Correct.
But ultimately, every dollar you pay in is going to death benefit. It's a matter of how we structure that permanent death benefit. But there's no such thing as buying cash value. There's no such thing as premium dollars going directly to cash value. There's no such thing. It all goes to the death benefit. And from that permanent death benefit derives the cash value because what is cash value? It's the net present value of that future death benefit discounted for future premium payments. And I know I just got way too technical and threw
No,
us
that's
away
very
from
good.
convertible term life insurance, but I just bring it back to convertible term. That death benefit is so important. I would much rather you pay less premium into a whole life insurance policy or no premium at all and
Mhm.
get the full death benefit you're eligible for in convertible term.
Yes, and let me say this, because you mentioned the caricature of, say, infinite banking, or of some subset strategies that we're talking about here, convertible term, whole life, how it fits into someone's finances. I believe that there are different groups of people at different seasons of times in their finances. So I'm going to use me as an example. When I first started, 22, 23 years old, on YouTube, I was already 4 years into my kind of personal finance journey and was getting into infinite banking, velocity, doing these different things. In that season, that 23-year-old, that 22-year-old is only concerned about growth. So I'm actually one of those people that had no concern to the death benefit. It mattered nothing to me at the time. As a licensed insurance agent, it wasn't the priority. It was like a feature and benefit. I was like, oh wow, if anything happens to me, this death benefit is massive. Like I've got almost $5 million of death benefit today. Like my family's gonna be just fine. It wasn't ranked high. It was probably like number 4 or 5 for me in terms of all the benefits you get with permanent life insurance. Cash value was the main thing. So here's what I created in my own atmosphere is I allowed the critics and haters and skeptics to only judge one benefit of whole life, which is cash value, which then what do they compare it to? S&P 500, investing, saving in a different account somewhere else. Denzel, I can get a higher rate of return here than your cash value over here. Da 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 da. So for a couple of years in my early practice, it became that. Now, over time, with my case studies, and as you mentioned earlier, just like what I believed to be true at the time, that decreased. But what really decreased it even further is when I had my own life experience of someone close to me nearly passing away, and I had wrote a life insurance policy on them. And in that moment, the death benefit became number one, where it was like, had they not made it, that death benefit would have protected my entire family on my wife's side to get them through that horrific event of
Yep.
one of their children almost passing away.
Yep. And here's what's
So
so amazing about that, right? You get into it, you're young, you don't care about the death benefit, you get into it for the cash value and you're focused on that. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But over time, you grow into an appreciation for the death benefit and you've
correct.
already secured it at an incredibly low rate. Whereas most people, by the time they come to an appreciation of the death benefit, they have no life insurance. And now they have to go and buy it. And now it's more expensive. And now they're probably just buying term, right? Whereas you get into the whole life insurance policy, and to use a word you used, depending on what season of life you're in, you appreciate different components of it more. I think people
Correct.
appreciate the long-term care protection as they get older, as they get into their 60s and 70s and realize that they might have some extra healthcare costs, knowing that they can use that death benefit for long-term care is a huge, huge peace of mind feature. And you didn't mention it directly, maybe you're about to, but the peace of mind that comes
Oh
from
yeah.
having that death benefit protection is enormous. And you will make much better financial decisions when you have that peace of mind.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Caleb Williams of Host Better Wealth.
Who's that
He
guy?
often
Nobody's ever heard of that guy.
he often he often makes a statement where he's like, if people truly understood the power of life insurance when set up and used properly, we would have a line outside our doors for our practices. People would be rushing to get this product for their household. And in a very small way, I'm experiencing that daily now in my practice because I've been able to tweak my message, course correct, and really highlight all these different things that come with insurance, how your pennies get dollars, and also multiple layers of security around your financial portfolio. That I do have clients reaching out daily, comments coming in daily. Pretty much feels like people are lining up outside my door to obtain some kind of life insurance product, whether it's whole life or convertible term or something within that for them to add into their financial portfolio to create that legacy that they want for their
Right.
family, which is
Exactly.
amazing.
And it's just it's so great doing what we do because it's a massive gap in pretty much everybody's financial plan. You look at just about anybody's financial plan. I have not yet come across one person, not one, who is properly insured with life insurance. So we don't have to talk about whole life. We don't have to talk about infinite banking. We don't have to talk about velocity banking or any of that. Just say, hey, here's how much death benefit you have currently. And by the way, it's with a crummy term policy that's not convertible to anything good. Here's how much death benefit you're eligible for. Let me explain to you how that's calculated. And you can see why actually they're undervaluing you because no insurance company ever promises to make you whole. They only promise to limit your losses to something manageable and
Hmm.
why you should secure that. So if you have $500,000 of term today, maybe you should have 3 million of convertible term with a good mutually held insurance company and an agent like myself who knows what they're doing. And we've dramatically increased your peace of mind. This is one of those things. Life insurance is kind of the opposite of everything else. With everything else, you want what you don't have. The grass always looks greener on the other side. You appreciate something when you want it, you can't get it. With
Hmm.
life insurance, it seems to be the opposite. When you don't have it, nobody really knows what they're missing and they don't care. But once you have it, you start to appreciate it. You grow into appreciation of it more and more, especially with whole life because it ages like a fine wine. It gets better every year. So the more people have it, the more they want it and they want more of it and they cannot get enough of it.
Yes, I experienced that. I'm now 7 years into my career. And so the policies that I wrote 6 years ago, even as early as 7 years ago, people are coming back. I'm ready to get my kids going. I need to get one for my husband. I'm looking for a second one. I wish I would have did more Denzel. I'm like, I didn't even know what I like. I'm totally honest with my earliest clients. I'm like, going back over the years, I'm like, hey, let's review your policy. Let's review what I did, what I made for you, because we only looked at it one dimensionally at that time, which was the cash value. There might be some
Right.
other pieces that were missing that we could totally make up for. And the fact that they've been funding it properly for 7 years and just seeing like the all these other things that come with it and what they've been able to use with it, incredible. And I'm now seeing that in a short period of time just with convertible term. There is that peace of mind factor that I truly believe I get that client insured even with $300 to $500 or less in cash flow per month. So it's their cash flow can go down, say $100, but they perform better in the strategy that we come up with, whether it's velocity banking or not. They're actually doing it more efficiently. They're sticking to the numbers. They're improving. They're getting their cash flow higher, and we're having conversations about like, how do you feel now that if anything happens to you, mom of three, single divorced mom of four, If anything happens to you, you've got this $1 million+ death benefit that we've been able to secure on you at age 50, as opposed to thinking we needed to do these other things first to then get that. And I show them how I'm willing to pay more interest on debt service over here, let's just say, to have the proper amount of coverage here. And that's
100%.
that's not me saying it because I'm going to make a commission on convertible
No.
term. Mind you, I've been in the business now for 7 years. I've never sold convertible term until the last year of my practice. 'Cause I truly just didn't understand why I didn't see where it fit in. For me, it was like get them in the whole life, man, as quickly as possible because of how amazing it is and all this stuff that we can do. And I would have people wait to get whole life to get their debt in order, not realizing could have got them something such as convertible term with all these living benefits.
Right, and what happens to them if something happens in the interim? Maybe not even death, but just they have some health issues,
Yeah.
and now they're not insurable, or now they get rated instead of getting the standard rate.
Yep.
Yeah, convertible term is always, in my opinion, there are exceptions, so always is a big word. It's not always the case, but usually the best practice is to do convertible term. So if you come in the door, you're gung ho about infinite banking, you're ready to go. In almost every case, I'm still going to say we're going to do convertible term first. And then on day two, we can convert a portion, maybe even all of it, to whole life. And there's so many advantages to doing that. One of them is, again, this is where the skill, the real skill of being an infinite banking style life insurance agent comes in, something that fiduciaries and financial advisors cannot do because you cannot be an expert in investments and this other stuff, is that it's an easier underwriting process. It's a smoother underwriting process. If you apply directly for a whole life insurance policy, you can do that and that's fine. You can get approved. But it's a bit more complicated with underwriting, especially on the financial side. It's not just medical underwriting, it's financial underwriting as well.
Correct.
When we do convertible term first and then we convert it, that conversion process, there's no underwriting. It's just an administrative process, right? And also, if you're working with me, we're going to make sure you're fully insured. So if we were to apply for whole life directly, we would also have to apply for a term policy to supplement. So now that's two different applications. Now we're doing just one. So there's so many different ways in which I am simplifying the process. Now, again, there are cases where we would apply directly for whole life. I'm not saying that's wrong. There are reasons to do that. Just
Yep.
in my opinion, in many cases, it's not the best practice. So I'm like you, Denzel, probably in the second or third year of my career, I had that epiphany about convertible term. And now my process with just about everyone is the first thing we do not pass go, do not collect $200, is we apply for a convertible term policy for your full human life value. Notice I said apply. We're not necessarily going to take it. So maybe you hate life insurance. Maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you think that's too much death benefit. Okay. But we're going to apply for the max because that gives us all of our options. We can always take
Yeah,
less,
that's
right?
true.
But you might as well apply for the max because, by the way, underwriting can take a while. So let's kick that off today. And then while underwriting is doing their thing, we can continue with case design. And usually what I find is by the time underwriting is done and the client has had a couple of conversations with me, they're starting to come around to, you know what? Yeah, maybe I should take that full death benefit. You know what? And you know what?
Mhm.
I'm okay paying less in my whole life policy to get that full death benefit in convertible
I
term,
was
you know?
just about to bring up the scenario of, let's say you got a client that does have capital, they're gun ho, they're like, I want to start my bank, right? I want to start saving money in my properly structured whole life. I want to get that going. Let's say they have $20,000 to work with per year. Now I'm starting to have the conversation of, well, what would it look like if we did 19,000 and then, like, just as an example, and then 1,000 went to convertible term to get the most amount of insurance, because the 20,000 you're putting into a whole life, we're not necessarily designing it for max death benefit. Often
Right,
we're designing it for max cash value and minimizing the cost to have that high early liquidity inside of the policy. Well, that comes at an expense of the death benefit if you do that.
right,
So convertible term can make up for the difference. And to your point, we've fully secured your potential net worth, human life value, of which Years down the road, when you're ready to do another policy, guess what? We have the mechanism to do that. Boom, convert, and you keep it going in that sense. So that's something
The
I'm also having the conversation with. Don't know if I'm doing it perfectly just yet, but the conversation's being had, which I think is really
And I
important.
love the continuous learning process, Denzel. I try to be not like modern medical professionals and some modern financial professionals. I don't lecture my clients. I don't present it as I am this high and mighty expert talking down to you, puny little client, and giving you wisdom from on high. No, it's a partnership. I was a consultant. I did strategy consulting with Fortune 500 companies, right? And so I'm talking to like the CEO of Coca-Cola. He knows more about Coca-Cola than I do. It would be ridiculous for me to think like I'm the expert on Coca-Cola. No, I am here to provide my perspective and expertise. I can do some things that you maybe cannot do, but I'm not going to lecture the CEO of Coca-Cola. That's ridiculous. I have to come in as a servant and say, "Hey, I'm a strategic partner. I'm going to help you. I'm an outsider." That's an advantage, right? I see things from a different perspective. And it's the same thing with my clients. I am a strategic partner. I am not some guru who's going to give them wisdom from on high. I'm learning too, and my processes are evolving. And I hope I have that humility, and I hope I don't have some like official license that makes me feel like, well, I'm arrived. I'm just at a higher plane of existence now. No,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't care if you wanna have licenses, that's fine. If you wanna have credentials and brag about your years of experience, that's fine. There's some value to that, but at the end of the day, what value are you giving to your clients? That's what matters, and in my experience, clients would rather work with someone who has a little bit of humility. It's pretty often, Denzel, where my clients ask me a question and my response is, I don't know. Let me look into that for you. I don't know the
And
answer. That's a great question. I haven't thought about it from that perspective. Let me look into this for you, and I'll get back to you because I don't know. You know, and clients like to hear that. Actually, they like to hear that you're not an expert on everything.